All right, hello again. I know it's been a while since I've made a video, and I felt like today is time again. Kind of been sitting here for quite a few minutes, feeling my feelings, and this is why me sharing videos is so valuable because the amount of inner work it required just to come on and open my heart. It was lovely, really. And that's always the truth when you're sharing your gift with the world. It does require from you the most inner work to blossom and have fruit, to share. But that's what makes it so worth it. I just realized that it's me sharing what God has given me that allows my heart the greatest opportunity to heal. And so I'm very grateful to be here this evening and just as curious as you as to what God wants to share. So I'm going to be drawing from Twin Flames Finding Your Ultimate Lover. And I feel like, as always, there'd be a message for me and for you in our healing journey. Okay. I think I may have talked about this before, but it's one of those things where you can't talk about this too much because it's such a deep concept. And so we're going to go deeper. And it's the purpose of harmonious twin flame union. The purpose of harmonious twin flame union is to live a God centered life. This doesn't mean split yourself off from society and pray all the time. It means living in harmony and communion with God, with your twin flame as one. It means you and your twin flame work together to root out the remaining upsets from your one consciousness. It means you live a shared life together of love and romance. All the romance God has for you is expressed through your twin flame. That relationship is absolutely sacred, and the sexual union you share is so private and unspeakably perfect and beautiful that it could not possibly be shared with another. The purpose of your harmonious twin flame union is that you and your twin flame live a single life together with a shared purpose. This is truly beautiful. There's a lot I want to emphasize here. Um, it's really important to understand what the twin flame journey is all about. And this first line really, I think, gets to the heart of it, is to live a God centered life. And living a God centered life, I mean, honestly, I still feel like a kindergartner, in all honesty, in realizing what it truly means. There's like an infinite amount of growth one can do in understanding what that is. But at the core, it's living a life of love, and it's living a life of total surrender to God first. I've talked about this in other videos. It's always God first, then you, then your twin flame, and then everyone else. But God is first. And so that's why a lot of what Twin Flame Ascension School focuses on is how to know what God is saying. And this is something that I'm constantly learning. Um, and so a lot of it is coming to know who God is. God is peace, God is love, and God is harmony, like it says here. Um, Living a God centered life means you will come into deeper and deeper harmony with all of life because God is the source of all life. And that's why it says, you don't have to split off from society. I think, in the past, that was what was called for in a lot of ways. But now it's about embodying that love, embodying that spirit wherever you go. There's no place you could possibly go that God doesn't want to be. So if you're, you know, working at a gas station or you're a CEO of a company, you're called to bring God there. God is needed there. And that is what watching the classes and pursuing the teaching does so well. And I watched a class about this. Every single class, as you watch in order, aligns your vibration to the vibration of heaven. And I truly experience this every single time. Um, it helps me just unwind every little upset inside of me and return that place to peace. And it's an ongoing process. It's something that I still have a lot of work to do. Um, but I choose to really be humble on this path. Like, I'm becoming very aware, because I talk about patterns. Patterns are basically things that we've developed that are not serving us, not serving our divine self, but we just kind of gather these patterns over time and thinking they serve us, but they don't. And I'm really becoming more clear about, okay, then the simplest way to tell is, you run your pattern and you notice you do not feel good after you run a pattern. And that is why the work focuses so much on your feelings. When you stay in your feelings, you know how well you're doing connecting to God, because God speaks to you through your heart. Um, Simple example, when you're loving someone, when you're giving your gift, when you're loving yourself, when you're doing anything that makes you happy, you feel good. Your vibration raises, and that is a godly experience. The mirror exercise is one of the best examples, because it's just you directly loving yourself where you need love. And that provides instant healing and an instant raising of your vibration. Whereas a pattern is, I've developed this idea that this thing or this activity will make me feel good, and then I pursue it, and I do not feel good afterwards. And then that's where the inner work comes in. You look at that experience. What about that experience felt good, and what actually doesn't feel good about that experience? So I think, that's kind of an extended mirror exercise, where you just kind of look at your life and you see what's working and what's not working, like a scientist. Um, and then you love the part of yourself that, oh, you know what, this part of me feels like I need this thing to be happy, but I can really see that it's not serving me. So instead of seeking that thing outside of me, I'm going to find that place, see what it needs. Am I needing a certain type of attention, validation? And then I give that to myself, and that fulfills me. And I don't have to seek something that is not actually fulfilling, when I can give myself that fulfillment. So it's a really beautiful journey. That's what it means. Your relationship with God is every part of life. It's truly living in your feelings, because God is one with you. So when you choose to live in a space of love, choose to live in your feelings, you notice, okay, my interaction with this person feels really good. My interaction with this person doesn't feel so good. This is you living a godly life. And then you go deeper about understanding what is it that is upsetting you in a particular relationship. Getting very clear and loving yourself there. And so it's a mix of both the inner and outer. If you need to set boundaries, like I actually recently with a coworker had to set a boundary and say, you know what? But I also had to do inner work leading up to that place. Love myself in that place that was attracting something I didn't like, so that I could properly and peacefully set the boundary, um, and address that in my reality. So I'm always curious. It's always fascinating to me where God ends up taking these videos from a passage. There's so much in this, but God really wants me to focus on what it means to live a God-centered life. In short, God wants you to feel good all the time. God created humans to feel good all the time. So living a God-centered life is leading a good feeling life. And this doesn't mean be hard on yourself if you're feeling bad, going through a hard time. Have compassion for yourself. That place, go to those places. Living a God-centered life is not ignoring those places. If you're feeling bad, it doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. There's anything wrong with you. But it's an invitation to bring God into those spaces. And that's all the mirror exercise is. The mirror exercise is the ability to find the place where I don't feel good inside and give love to that part. And it's so empowering because I realize that I can give myself everything I need to feel whole and to feel good. So it's a complete practice of, and that's essentially, you inviting God into that space. You loving yourself is you giving God permission to love you there. God desires to shower his love on everybody, but he can only love to the extent that you open yourself up to loving. And that is by the choice to love yourself. That is why self-love is the principle of Twin Flame Ascension School, because it's self-love that opens the gateway for God to love you. When you find where you're hurting and give yourself what you need, God, in that same moment that you are loving yourself, God also penetrates you with his love in that space, which is why it's such a powerful and healing practice. And that's why it's so important to know who God is, because in order to do the mirror exercise effectively, you have to know who God is, and God is all that is good. So as you're healing, anything that doesn't feel good, it only doesn't feel good in that space because that part of you has a misaligned thought or belief. And when you understand God, you can go to that misaligned thought and belief and be like, you know what? For example, I'm not feeling supported, but I know that God supports me completely. And I choose to support myself in this place. I choose to claim all of my support. And I allow this part to know that I am fully loved and supported. And you can actually give that support and love to yourself, which will then attract that support on the outside. It literally works like that. And that's up to God to orchestrate that. You just love yourself and claim it for yourself and trust God to give you what you need. So I think that's pretty, complete. There's a lot that goes on in here. As you love yourself, that's the only way, living a life of love and romance. A life of sacred sexual communion. These places can only truly be opened up through that relationship with God. You don't pursue those things first necessarily. You pursue God first and allow God to show you the way to romance. And it starts with romancing yourself, healing your own sexuality, your own feelings. And your twin, who is your mirror, will mirror back the romance you give yourself, the healing you give yourself. And then ultimately, as you do this healing, you and your twin flame become very powerful. And you live a life of purpose, deep purpose, as you were created. It's very powerful. You can see this. Twin Flames Universe has actually updated their homepage with many of the couples who have been in the movement for a long time and are embodying this energy. And you can see twin flames that have really done this healing work, aligning their consciousness to God, attracting that love into their life, and living their purpose. I very much recommend you to check it out. twinflamesuniverse.com. Their homepage really lays out that beginning part of what this journey is all about. Living a God-centered life. And as this passage says, a God-centered life is something that blesses every earthly desire you have: romance, wealth, purpose, peace, happiness. Everything you could want is given onto you when you live a godly life. So I hope this video blesses you and encourages you to claim your happy life with God and your twin flame. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.